All right, let's get started here, shall we? Welcome, everybody. Got to make sure that I have my my headphones on. Also, before we begin, no Where's Waldo jokes today, okay? I've heard it all. I like this shirt because it's comfortable, not because I look like a famous book character, okay? And it doesn't matter anyways, because I'm easily found. I'm right here. But I did enjoy those books. Where's Waldo? I lost so many hours of my childhood looking through the Where's Waldo books, and I got so frustrated because I never could find him. I never could. I was notoriously bad at it. I really was. And I think there was only like 3 or 4 pages in an entire book that I would find the actual Where's Waldo in there. And then they came out with, I don't know if you guys remember this, but I remember they came out with the book, and then you had Where's Waldo, and then the girl version of him, and then there was like a grandpa, and then there was like a dog that also had like the Where's Waldo hat on, and it was like a whole family, and you got to find all of them within the book. That was even harder. Probably even now I would have a tough time doing it. But anyways, I just say that because I've heard a lot about this. It was originally, I do have to admit, it was originally a costume last year on Halloween for Where's Waldo, but I just really think that this shirt is comfortable. So anyways, we have Phil Carney in the chat. Hey, cheers. Welcome. And then 323 Starlight, I already got the book. Great. Well, don't need to do the stream then. You already got it. This is probably the second stream in a row where you probably know more than me about this book going into it, because by all means, I don't have a lot of time to go through all of these books and all of the third-party content in between each week, and with job and family and content creation, it's a little tough. So, but I thought that it's probably even better that it'll be my first reaction to this book, my first review, looking over it with you guys in the chat today, for which I'm excited for, right? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take Kobold Press's new book, which actually just came off of Kickstarter, Campaign Builder Cities and Towns. It's a book about basically anything that you would want to put in a city, how to build a city, all in one book that you can kind of flesh out with roll tables, with information, with guides, you name it. We're going to look at it, right? And then possibly, if you want to go pick it up, it will be in the description below. So you can go and give them the support at Kobold Press. I was grateful to them for sending me this book for free. I got on their list of review creators, I guess. So like they basically now get to send me stuff that I can review, which is awesome, which is more than Wizards of the Coast has ever done for me. But I do admire them for allowing me to do this for you guys. So. Yeah, Starlight says you've been slowly reading it. Awesome. It's a big tome. How many pages are there? There's 250 something pages, which is a pretty good thick tome. It does more than the single chapter of the DMG does. Yeah. And well, one thing, it's nice to have like a separate tome entirely for just a chapter of cities and towns and things like that. Second of all, it's hard to fit 250 pages worth of information in like a Dungeon Master's Guide, because then, you got cities and towns, and you got random encounters, and you got extra rules, and you got, a lot of things, and I doubt that any company, let alone Wizards of the Coast, would invest in a tome that big that has every single little thing in there. But we have Roland Christian in the chat. Hello. Certified reviewer. Yeah, for somebody. I'm excited for Kobold Press. I have all of their stuff. I really do. I don't know if you could see it. It's down there somewhere. But a bunch of books from Kobold Press and everybody else. There are some third-party content creators or third-party companies that I've really just enjoyed their stuff with, and Kobold Press is definitely the main one, or one of the main ones. Also been in love with Grim Hollow and their stuff that they put out. I haven't looked deep down in their Valakan Clans Kickstarter. Vikings to me isn't really a super like exciting kind of like setting or topic. It's not something that draws me, but their Grim Hollow setting, woo, so good. Ghostfire Gaming. I don't know if did I say Grim Hollow is the company or Ghostfire Gaming? It's Ghostfire Gaming. I don't know if the two got mixed up, but anyways. Roland Christian, it's a good thing third-party creators jump in and make awesome content. Yeah, and now that they're free to do so because of the OGL and Creative Commons, it's incredible. Where else want me to find this this kind of content? Maybe a monthly magazine? Absolutely. Absolutely. Me and my team are currently still working on the magazine this month. If you are a patron of this channel, thanks, Roland, for the as a segue. If you want to be a patron for the channel, support me in this channel in a monetary way, you can do so through a link in the description. We do come out with a monthly magazine, which is incredible. I have some dedicated writers and people who help with the project. And every month we come out with roll tables, with random encounters, with homebrew, with tons of stuff in a thematic element. So this month, or I guess I should say next month, we're going to come out with a Divinity Divinity one. Actually, do I have a... No. But it's going to be an issue all about divinity and gods and unique things that you can implement there, which I'm excited about. But you can also, if you can't support on a monthly basis, which honestly it would be cheaper if you support on Patreon, you can also get it on my website, which is available whenever, right? Yeah. Grim Hollow Ghost Fire Games, Phil Carney. Yeah, you heard me. I did. And thankfully the chat is now working this week. I don't know what the issue was last week, but we got it up and running this week, which is good. Does your monthly magazine have an astral or star themed sorcerer? No, but we do have a star themed ranger. The space ranger, I should say, in our space one, and I think that does wonders for that kind of archetype, I should say. If for astral or star themed sorcerer, I think a lot of people will point you to the Stars Druid or the lunar sorcerer that just came out with Dragonlance, I think it was. Yeah, Dragonlance. Patricia's the Human Fighter. Welcome. Good evening. And Issel reads. Yeah, you noticed the chat too. Awesome. But before I get too off track, I do want to give a shout out to my patrons who do support me currently and do get the awesome monthly content, as well as gets to see my home game that I film, record, and put on my Patreon for all of you to see. It's a Spelljammer game that I'm super excited about, and I've been freaking having a blast with it. And so I think we're up to 9 or 10 episodes now. But anyways, we have Cleric being Scott Burns, our Acolytes, Kaleidoscope, and Joseph Rogers. And then Disciples are 95 miles per hour Tonberry, Bryce Carlson, Christopher Roberts, Christopher Byram, Jessica Henry, Matt Clark, Oren Hammerquest, Peter N., and Pink Strawberry Sunday. Thank you guys so much for your support. You really make all of this possible. Yeah, to Infinity Beyond, Starlight. Infinity Beyond. I think if you wanted to be Buzz Lightyear, that is absolutely the subclass you should go. It does have, like, I think it has flight, it has like a laser vision, and I think as a ranger you get some divination magic that you can, report into Star Command. So fun stuff. CBev 1994, welcome to the chat. That is a great question. I am also curious about that. Again, for those kind of just coming in, I have not looked at this before. We're going to get my first reactions to this, which I'm excited about. I have in my mind that I want to make not only like a city and town, but I want to make like a tribal society for my game. And I'm wondering if this thing will do that. So for you, keep in mind if it's for a Feywild kind of city, we'll see if that's a possibility with this tome. If not, bummer, right? But something that maybe Kobold Press can do in the future, where they implement those kind of things for a metropolis or city or a Kumanopolis in some sort of realm other than the material plane. Ew, excuse me. Also, before we get started, if you do have questions, it does seem that we have a few people in the chat today, which is awesome. So if you do have a question for me while I'm reading, so I can pick it out of the chat, just put question in all caps before your actual question, and then the all caps will kind of alert me. Or you can do a super chat, and that will alert me right away with bright colors, and I can get to your question first. So, anyways. Starfinder core rulebook, Patricia's. Awesome. That's another one that I wanted to get into. I feel like that's more of the sci-fi than Spelljammer ever is, as it's more like Treasure Planet. And I want to... I do like sci-fi a little bit more than like the fantasy space aesthetic, but I like both of them. Yeah, new 1D&D as well. Devilham, you got that right. New 1D&D, Unearthed Arcana. It might be tomorrow. People have said it's tomorrow. I don't know if it's confirmed tomorrow, but the video said in the next couple days. Thursday is when they've done it in the past, so it's very likely. So, I'm planning on covering it. Maybe not today, but maybe next week. I'm not in a hurry. But for those of you who will, who kind of stay up to date, and I want to keep whoever's following me informed in all things TTRPG, and I feel like that's kind of in the forefront of a lot of people's minds. So yeah, I might cover it next week on live stream, but I probably won't make a video about it. So, question: will you cover cipher material? Maybe. It depends. I need to reach out to the company. I don't have any plans currently because I really haven't seen people asking about it. I think maybe I've had one other content or comment. It might have been you actually in another video that's asked about it, and that's it about the cipher system. Not even on my cipher or my breakdown of all the TTRPGs, kind of in the TTRPG sphere. Did I have a lot of comments about the cipher system? So I've heard it's an incredible system. I just don't see like a lot of asking for it for me to make a video about it, if that makes sense. But great question. Let's get into this, guys. Okay, so here's Campaign Builder Cities and Towns by Kobold Press. So 5e compatible, of course. And I guess another thing I should mention, I thought about covering the Kobold Press Black Flag Initiative, where they are also doing a playtest for their 1D&D clone, essentially. And I didn't really find anything there notable yet. It really is just that. It's a 1D&D clone that could possibly turn into like the next Pathfinder of 1D&D. But as far as what I see, there really isn't anything extravagant to cover there. So, okay. So here's the front page. Scroll down to the table of. We have city planning, anatomy of a city inhabitants, city campaigns, city heroes. They do have a couple subclasses in here. A college of... Oh, where'd I go? Oh, well, that's cool. Okay, kudos to the PDF. I don't... Is that normal? Is this a thing that's happened before? I just clicked on the index, and it shot me to that page. Is that a normal thing? I've never seen that before, but that's cool. Okay, Bardic College, College of Chicanery, I think is how you pronounce it. Cleric, Divine Domain of Community, Circle of the Sewer for Druids, the Rake Martial Archetype, the Way of Leaps and Bounds for monastic traditions, Oath of Revolution Paladin, and an Urban Ranger, a Skirmish Surgeon Rogue, and a Street Magic Wizard. All really, really cool. And then the appendix to boot. Okay. So a little overview of what the chapters are. So chapter 1 sets the parameters of your city. It's the age, primary function, trade goods, size and population, government structure, plus level and prevalence of magics. All role tables that we'll get into, I'm sure. I kind of looked over it a little bit. Chapter 2 is details of geography and climate, architecture, and city districting. Chapter 3 talks about people, rulers, the guilds, organizations, henchmen, and hirelings, everyone inside the city. Also includes statistics for urban NPCs and monsters. Awesome. Chapter 4 shows you how to run urban adventures and campaigns, how to stage encounters. That's something I really want to do, guys. I really want to play in just a one-city campaign. I've talked about it before in my other live streams. I just think there's so much you can do in one city alone that if you focus in... I do have a script that I have written that I want to do as well, of just about focusing in on monsters. And because you're here, I'll give you a little spoiler. In a regular fantasy setting, we have everything, right? We have dragons, we have oozes, we have plants, we have aberrations, we have everything, right? All of these different monster types that have different ways of interacting with the world and each other. And it gets very complicated. There's a lot. But with TV shows like Attack on Titan, they have one type of creature, and that's, in that case, is giants. And so it's interesting to kind of see the difference between what an average fantasy looks like and having everything, and what a specific one archetype kind of show does great by itself and not having to have all the kind of the fluff and everything else with the fantasy setting. But what it kind of looks like to focus in on maybe one creature type or something else. So, anyways, I'm excited for that video. Chapter 4, I said that. Chapter 5 brings you player options like character backgrounds, subclasses that we saw, and then the appendix. Okay, so I mean, I think what we're kind of going to do is going to go in and kind of create a city as we go, and then we'll see kind of what we end up with. So community age. So we have new community, young, mature, and ancient. Heck, we'll roll a d8. I got my handy dandy dice here. I don't know if you can see them. I don't know if I have my do I have my focus on? I don't think my focus is on. So it's a pretty blue and purple one. Anyways, so I'll grab my 1d8, and it's a 2. So it's a new community. It's planned and laid out. So I'm assuming that this right here, the new community, unplanned and organic, might be where like the tribal community comes from, or what that kind of means. But a new community is planned, laid out. We're probably looking at like a small village. So it talks about what a new city is, a young city is. I'm afraid that if I start reading things that we're going to be here forever, so we're going to kind of leave that up to you guys. But it does explain what each of those things are if you want to go more into depth with them. So ancient city. What is the city's primary function? And we might come back later if we feel like we have time. What is the city's primary function? Right? We have creation, export, military, politics, religion, tourism, trade, travel. All things that the city can be a focus of or what it's known for. And so let's roll a d20. And we get a 4. So a rare and sought after mushroom only grows in this area. Okay, that's kind of cool. With the export, it does this travel or this table seems a little bit small in the fact it only gives us like 3 exports, either a mushroom, a gemstone, or timber. It'd be nice to have maybe more of an expansive roll table, and maybe we'll get that. But for this small village, we have a sought after mushroom that only grows in this area. So as we move on, signature goods. So it kind of gives you a little bit of what it means here. We might read this one. Areas especially suited to creation or export of particular commodity. Perhaps there is gold buried in some nearby hills, so small settlement springs up to support miners and their families. Plus any customers, merchants, and traders that come through, those able to process and work the material might even take root nearby. So you might have a lot of mushroom farmers, allowing for increased throughput and more diversity of what's being offered, growing the community. So a lot of people to come in and experiment on these mushrooms and create a lot of variety with them. Perhaps they're building with them. Or perhaps the soil here is exactly right for growing a specific type of grape, in this case mushroom. Whatever is good, a specialized community grows its production and needs of its population. There might be a yearly celebration dedicated to this particular good. Mushroom festival would be fun. Perhaps there's a harvest festival that, there you go, where people from all over can help with the grape harvest, enjoying the latest vintages and buying wine, a mushroom wine. I don't know if that would be good. And related products to take home. Either, excuse me. Either for personal consumption or sell at market prices. Perhaps the mining town has a yearly or biannual market festival where crafters compete to make the most impressive weapons, jewelry, or armor, and they bring their own wares to sell, all while drinking, feasting, and taking business with the merchants and shop owners from across the land. I could see like a festival where like there's a cook competition and they all make different things with mushrooms. I've been watching a lot of MasterChef recently, so maybe that's coming from that. Lots of sport druids rolling, yes, absolutely. So it's good that it gives kind of like a little bit overview. So right now, let's actually write some of these things down. So we have our city, or our small town. So we have a small village, and wow, that's small. So we're going to bump up the thing so you guys can see it. And we're just going to use this. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, so small village. And then we got mushroom export. That's pretty great. And then now, what are the city's trade goods? Didn't we? Wait. Wasn't that just what we went over? Was the export? Maybe this is going more in depth with it. So urban centers rarely function in a bubble. Okay, so maybe what they're trading with other societies. They rely on others just as they rely on them. The economy and the quality of life for its citizens often relies on trade, even with other nations, but it might be self-sufficient enough to meet the basic needs of its citizens without depending on others. So to answer this question might be partially answered by the previous question, what is the city's primary function? Yes, if too isolated, it might need to be primarily self-sufficient, which maybe a small village has to be, or it is reliant on a bigger city nearby. Maybe going on long stretches to see outsiders at all. They likely maintain a plenty of non-perishable items for sale to odd travelers and for their own use. So, impact of trade goods and pricing. So it looks like the type of region being agricultural, coast, desert, and forest and jungle, all different types of trade goods that do expand on what we had with the mushroom. So maybe we can just take that, like the export is the main focus of the city, and these are the kind of roll tables we do. I don't see a roll table on if we want, what would we choose? Like if it's agricultural, coast, desert, forest, or jungle, or we have to decide beforehand. So to help determine the city's primary exports, roll on the trades good by region table or choose the exports by region. Trade goods by region or choose the exports, or choose it. So you get to roll or choose. So let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's only 5, so I can't roll a d6. But let's say it's roll a d6 and cut off the last 6 or re-roll 6s. So it's a 2. So we're going to be a coast. So then roll a d4 and we get seaweed. So maybe a unique mushroom that grows on the coast and seaweed that we have trade goods from this little village, which is pretty cool. Looks like you can also talk about other trade goods in here. There's an entire list of them. Oh, okay, so here's 2 more. So we have mountains and tundra. So it's like 7. Still not a full 8 that we could roll for that. It'd be nice to have like a little roll table for that if we were possibly like starting a full campaign and we just wanted one town to start in and we wanted to roll, okay, what kind of city are we starting in, right? Because you find the average like, start in a tavern. Well, where's that tavern? It's in a city or a town or a village. And where's that village? Well, we get to roll and figure that out. Yeah, Roland Crit, sea salt mushrooms. That a very salty mushroom. I mean, I could see that could probably bring a lot to the palate of interesting cooks, I think. So what's the city size and population? So city size and population might be a little contradictory to the previous roll table that we had with the community, where it's small. And so if we rolled that we're more than 30,000 people in a small city, then it's not really a small city anymore. So maybe, let's kind of go up here again, and so it's community's age. So maybe not the population, but it's very new. So it could be that there's a lot of people and it is brand new. So it's like a big exodus of somewhere else that came to this region, settled, so it's brand spanking new, and people are just building, but it's got a lot of people on it. But that's if we roll that. But let's see what we roll. So let's roll an 8, and we get a 3. So it is a village. Huzzah! We're good, guys. So it's not a thorp or a hamlet, but it is an actual village, right? We're good enough to hold a festival and have true trade things. Seaweed and salt mushrooms, which is pretty good. Phil Carney, 2d4 -1. That works. That works too. Thorn, hamlets, and villages. So it does have a little bit of text for each of those. So villages, communities of 100 or more citizens. Villages occupy maybe a half dozen to a dozen acres and often serve in central administrative capacity to several smaller hamlets and thorps around them. Okay. So there might be some outskirts of just a few dozen people that have kind of settled maybe down the coast a little ways. Maybe one family that kind of wanted to be away from the village a little bit more, and then it's just kind of developed into more of a thorp or a hamlet. Or it's all just one really big family that just went off on their own. Excuse me. And then they usually have a mayor and a village council, and they likely feature some type of defense and such as a low stone wall or a palisade, and can muster a handful of armed folks as a militia in times of trouble. I do like all of this. I like that they're giving all of this information to us, because as a village, like, I don't think of these immediately. I don't think, oh, well, a village has a wall of some sort, right? A village in my mind often doesn't, but now that puts in my mind, what are they trying to build the wall from? Or are they trying to keep people in, or trying to prevent people from coming in? I think I said that right. But anyways, a fence for some reason, and then they have some sort of militia as well, right? Some sort of guards. Maybe not a big guards or a lot of guards, but some to hopefully deter your party to steal from the lowly villagers here. Let's see. We have villages typically feature a civic center, and where a handful of public buildings and businesses sit in proximity, including at least one inn and stables, meeting hall, trading post, small chapel. Awesome. You can choose kind of what religion is in the place. They sometimes form around some defensive structure, such as a fort, tower, or small keep. One more on the chapel. It might be nice because obviously it might be system agnostic, where we don't, or pantheon agnostic, where we don't have all the gods. But it'd be kind of cool to have like a roll table that's like, okay, what kind of gods do this place focus on? Do they focus on a god of war, or a god of harvest, or a god of love? And how does that kind of influence this place? And maybe that'll come in later, but these are just thoughts. Most people living in or near a village or common laborers, but if you operate businesses or wealthier experts representing distant interests, adventurers often retired frequently take residences in a village where there is enough in the way of goods and services to allow them to establish a hold or keep or tower of some kind. So a place where an adventurer can kind of come, settle down, make something of themselves in retirement, which is pretty great. So good. So then it goes over, what towns kind of look like, cities, if you roll that. What is the city's government structure? This is awesome. So now we look at what is, how this place is run. And it's a D10, so we'll pick that up. And it win 8. So a plutocracy. I don't know what that is. If you do want I do actually have a kind of a city builder in my, I think it's actually my the first issue of my magazine, and it's 30 pages instead of 250. So it's basically a lot of this stuff kind of condensed down. So if you want something a little more simpler, I would go for that. But this is very much more in depth, which is great. So a plutocracy. We're gonna scroll down to plutocracy. Plutocracy is a system of government made up of the wealthiest citizens. It doesn't matter whether said wealth is inherited, comes from trade, or has been collected through adventuring, war, or some other exotic activity. The leaders in such a system might rule overtly, place in positions of power through some traditional manner where they simply prove their vast wealth. Conversely, they would be the power behind other forms of government, subtly guiding events in their favor through lavish but covert spending. Makes sense. In small communities, the line can blur between types of government when the person with the most wealth also happens to own the only defensive structure or all businesses in town. It's hard to argue with someone who can offer protection, who pays for everyone's livelihoods through jobs, or who simply monopolizes trade, even if they are not traditional lord. I want to add also that I could see this being like a thieves guild leader who has kind of the above board, everybody in the village is great, but then under the counter, a thieves guild that kind of does a little bit more of the manipulating without the mayor himself being the one that takes the fall if anything bad happens, if that makes sense. So I could see that happening as well, and I think that's great. So it's a plutocracy. The person who is in charge of everything is the most wealthy. Awesome. So then we go into magic. So impact of magic, types of magic. Magic is everywhere. Let's see if there's a roll table for this one. It doesn't look like it. But man, that's awesome that it talks about how magic influences, like how it's in the background, maybe how it influences construction, education, entertainment, and leisure. If there's anything too that you guys want me to read, let me know. Right? If I skip over that's something that's like, oh, we have to read that. That seems so important. You question in all caps and then do that, or you can send a super chat. Education, entertainment, and leisure, how it affects food and nutrition, healthcare, public safety, sanitation, industry and commerce, transportation, utilities. Wow. Magic is so. Wait a minute. So this one, that whole place, or that whole couple pages, is under the guise of Prevalence Magic is everywhere. So we're having levels of magic here. So if the magic is everywhere, then this is how it impacts things. If the magic is limited, this is how it impacts things. And then magic is restricted, this is how it affects everything, which is incredible. And it looks very, very thorough as well. And then we have ancient and forgotten magic as well, that talks about it. And then here we go, magical features in a city. So we have everywhere, limited, and restricted. So I guess we got to choose one. We have magical features in a city. Let's say, what should we do, guys? What should we do? Should we have magic everywhere in this little village? Do we have a prevalent one, or do we have a restricted one? I think since it's like a village, maybe I'm thinking limited. While you guys are typing that decision in the chat, I do want to read one of these up here because I am curious how magic when it's abundant, how it affects, let's say, construction. Constructing buildings and roads is a time-consuming process, but in a high magic city, one magic wielder can complete in hours what it might take dozens of workers a day or more. Whether the materials are lifted by golems or stone and wood are sculpted by spells, or a building is simply summoned into being, fully fabricated, magical construction takes but a fraction of the time. Impossible architecture sustained only by luxurious spells and possible only through magical construction might become the mark of public works and wealthy estates. So it looks magical. It looks like it's carved through magic, not by hand because it's so intricate. However, dedicated magical construction can be more expensive in labor, materials, and time. That makes sense. More mundane construction workers might use illusions to establish what a building should look like as it's being built, provide light and rations for work crews for compensation for material imperfections. If golems are plentiful, they might replace manual laborers in construction jobs with citizens, relegated to oversight, quality control, and commanding constructs. That makes sense. I really like the city planner or the real estate agent that are using illusion magic to tell them like what it could look like. Man, that would be nice to have today. You know, just like a 3D environment where you can actually like walk into, and we'll get there like with VR right now. But I just think that's a really, really cool thing. Okay, so magic being everywhere. I see Patricius. Devilham says, I was yesterday's old when I realized adventurers were Nepo babies. Pass down magic items to their children who in turn more likely to become adventurers. Yeah, that makes sense. Let's see. Magic is restricted. Oh, no. We were going to roll on the table of the high magic. So let's do that. D10. Oop, wrong dice. There you are. I always get the D10 and D8 mixed up. 4. Professional wizard ball games are held weekly in the local Coliseum. So in this village, we have some sort of Coliseum. I don't picture something huge made out of stone, but maybe something like propped up with wood and little metal hoops, kind of like, you know, like a Quidditch match or something like that, where wizard ball games are held in a weekly like wooden Coliseum. The benches aren't made of stone, but it's kind of like logs that are pushed together to come to this community, and it's what all the youngins play after they get out of school or something. That'd be kind of cool. So I like that. So that's our magical feature in the city. Then we get to anatomy. So we're on chapter 2, anatomy of a city. Ooh, we have a question by Phil Carney. I'm actually interested whether there's some sort of resource action mechanics or if it's purely random narrative flavor. I guess maybe clarify that question, because I'm reading it off. I only know what you know at this point of this book. If there's some resource and or action mechanics, or if it's purely random narrative flavor. Oh, I see. Yeah, I don't see any mechanical things yet. I don't see them saying like this, like if you have high magic in the city, then the person has advantage on magical saving throws, something like that. If you have high magic, something like wards and boons that are blessed on the city by powerful wizards for everyone who lives in the city. I think that would be really, really cool, and something that could really be added to any city, where the citizens are blessed to be in the city, and maybe it's an incentive to be in the city because the high wizards have made a blessing over the city that gives them certain boons or magical properties, extra blessings, things like that, or even powers. Maybe you could be like a warlock of the city, where you take power from the high wizards who have blessed people within it. That's dope, and I might put that in my future city campaign. Let's see, mapping the city. Okay, so we got, for this method, use an existing map, such as by resourcing a topographical map that makes sense, by following the topography of the terrain when placing a city. Its foundation has the added weight of realism and lend to verisimilitude, encouraging players to buy into the setting through familiarity. Verisimilitude, wow, that's a hard word. Basically, that means what they know to be true and what is translated in the game matches up, right? So it's something that makes sense in the real world, so it makes sense in the game, if that makes sense. So here we go, building a landmass. We have road and direction, we have climate in the area, and then difficult terrain. Oh, interesting. Okay. So designing a map for this method, use an assortment of dice, plain paper, or something to draw with. Take a handful of dice. Oh, it's the handful of dice method. If you've seen like Zipper on Disney stuff, you know what this thing is talking about. Flora Life. Well, here's some rules to consider when designing topography from imagination. We have Flora. While varied in individual needs, requires combination of available water, healthy soil, and sunlight to grow. Well, we have mushrooms and we have seaweed. Awesome, check. Life prefers the path of least resistance regarding roads. That makes sense. Time and weather cause erosion, which smooths edges, weakens and uproots foundations, and exposes hidden features. Awesome. And water flows downhill and finds the best path of least resistance. All makes sense. Might as well just roll on these tables. It says roll again for other direction, and on a duplication, treat as crossroads. Awesome. So we have a crossroad from the city, or we have a road direction on the coast. And it's probably going to be away from the coast, so we'll roll a d8 and 6. So southwest. So most likely the ocean is going to be northeast. Yes. The climate in this area, see how see our mushrooms and our seaweed are going to grow in a tropical climate. So it makes sense. We're tropical either on a peninsula or maybe even an island. A village on an island completely makes sense. And then a d4 for difficult terrain that we might encounter, with 2 as earth. So we have earthquakes, mudslide, and quicksand. So imagine it could be kind of jungly with the quicksand, as well as if it's being an island chain, then it could absolutely be prone to earthquakes, right? So that's great. Choosing land features. So this could be buildings that are in the city, natural formation. Let's see, what time is it? We are running out of time very quickly. Like a d20 we roll, could be a 13. So we have a mysterious device in the city. That could be interesting. I think that maybe we'll find out what that is later. We'll roll a d12 for natural formation, being with salt flats. We have everything on this island. Salt flats. Okay, awesome. Salt flats might be a cool element of quicksand. So instead of like quicksand, it's like quick salt. Yeah. And then a body of water, a d10. We have a bay. Also makes sense. But if we rolled like a pond or a river, it could easily be implemented on an island. You don't really need to be, on land, not on an ocean, to have ponds, rivers. So, rolling crits. I can see spending a lot of time rolling up city details that your party will never find out about. Absolutely. Yeah, and that's the question, right? And that's kind of why I offered the my magazine that has kind of a condensed version of this, because this is a lot. And if you do this for every city, it does kind of take a while. But so you can always kind of do the reverse of this, that it's like, I need a city here, and you just kind of think through it, right? I need a city on the coast, probably has a road leading the opposite direction. You know, it's by the coast, so there's a lot of seaweed. Maybe they'd make a lot of seaweed food and just kind of like think about it that way. You know, it'd probably be easier to do that. I think that this kind of lends a lot to if you have done like no world building yet. Is kind of what I'm seeing here, because I probably wouldn't go out and be like, okay, I need a city at this, you know, where they're going. So I already know where they're going in this in the campaign, and they're nowhere near an ocean. So if I roll like an island village, not going to help me out much, right? So we have evolution of the city, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. Cities undergo a stage of development similar to the life cycles of their occupants. For clarity, a city's development is measured in 3 stages: founded, established, and developed. Great. So I think it's just giving us some information, because I thought that we had already rolled for a of the age of our city, like right at the beginning, right? So we would be a founded city. Bluff Creek's beginnings are straightforward. Wait a second. What? Did it give us a city name? Is that what Bluff Creek is? Oh, it's a city map right here. Oh, okay. Run. This is what we're looking at. So Bluff Creek's beginnings are straightforward. The keep was built first on a high hill overlooking a river and the main road that runs parallel to it. In the first years after a small trading post inn and half a dozen homes were built, the small hamlet begins to benefit from the crossroads, access nearby river, and protection provided by the hilltop keep. As Bluff Creek is still in its infancy, walls, towers, and barracks are not yet priority but it will become important as the location swells from the prosperity brought in by travelers and trade. So I'm thinking it's just giving us examples here, which is nice. Yeah, great for one-shots. No, that's a great point. This thing is absolutely great for one-shots. Absolutely. And for a city campaign, like how you mentioned earlier on Sleeping City, the city that you make for the campaign could easily be done through this, and put in a lot of unique elements that you may not have thought of, right? But then again, if you are doing a full city campaign, it's hard to do a full city campaign if you rolled a village, right? So you kind of have to pick and choose and use the roll tables that you want to use, and maybe not using all of them is the best idea. Great. So we have natural resources, scarce but defensible, lacking but accessible. Oh, so this is how accessible the resources that we have. We'll roll for that one. So we have a 3, vital but inaccessible. The city fits on figurative gold mine, or perhaps a literal one, and is a vital source of materials or luxuries. Unfortunately, its geolocation is exceptionally difficult to access, or is blocked, guarded by a daunting creature, organization, or magical effect. So what if this thing is on a cliff? What if the village is on a cliff, and the bay that we have is the only place that this specific seaweed grows, and it's used for medicinal purposes, right? And so it's very difficult to get to. And maybe there's some sort of dangerous piranha creature in there as well that makes it hard. But the seaweed is vital to have for the health of a community. But unfortunately, it's only located in this one area where this village is. That's kind of cool. 6 climate. So we have arid, planar, temperate. So we have more information about tropical climate. So there are zones of heat and humidity. Year-round warmth, frequent precipitation, because the climate impacts coastal regions almost exclusively. Cities must contend with storms and hurricanes, also a great thing to think about. Citizens are confronted with torrential downpours, flooding, tidal waves. Fire is at least infrequent, so that's good. We don't need to worry about that. When fires do break out, smoke is dark and heavily obscuring. Awesome to know. City planning. Despite an abundance of resources, much of the tropical city's wealth is spent on maintaining the integrity of structures against encroaching plant life and protecting the citizenry from opportunistic predators. So all things to think about. Of course, with the right mindset, the city's inhabitants can adapt to live in harmony with the environment, though this requires a greater degree of flexibility in city planning and cost, but also a willingness to cooperate that might not be shared among the populace. I wonder if they got like a city planner or some expert to kind of come in and say like, hey, this is everything that happens in the tropical city, and this is everything that happens on another thing. Or if this is just a bunch of research that the writers team had to do. And then culture, tropical citizens prefer lightweight, water-resistant clothing to beat the elements. Tropically, typically wearing little clothing. That makes sense. Superstitions are extensive, as dense forests and open seas give cause to all too well unexplained phenomena. Absolutely. You could even put some like Cthulhu, Eldritch stuff in there. Or dinosaurs in the jungle, whatever you want to do. For those who have a connection to nature and spirit, locals are as likely to regard them warmly as they are to distrust or even shun them. Awesome. So we have determining climate. What? We had a determining climate roll table up at the top. I'm so confused, guys. Where did the other one come from then? Right? So because we have it here. And then so see the climates below. Okay, yeah. So it's giving us this, and then it's telling us to go back to these climate ones below, and then it's giving us the climate again. I don't know. Okay, maybe so we don't have to scroll back to the top. I don't know. So we have geography and climate story hook. Now we're talking, right? So again, with the one-shot idea, you could roll up a city, roll up a place, and then roll up an adventure. That's really cool. So we have affecting the climate and geography. Let's see if it has anything. Okay, so it's reflecting the culture, reflecting the age, reflecting the technology. Okay, then we move into city districts. So we talk about. I wonder if there's another roll table for city districts. But it's nice to have all this information. So if we have like a small village that's just docks, right, which is probably what this is, then maybe the whole village is just this docks district. And we read this for all the information that we need for that one. I don't know what this is for, though. Oh, they are. Okay, it says right there, architecture. So architecture in reflecting the climate and geography. Excuse me, goodness gracious. Reflecting the climate and geography, architecture reflecting the culture, and architecture reflecting the age. So things to think about with the architecture, depending on what you rolled before. City districts. We have docks district. We have. Oh wow! You can even charter a vessel. You got different kinds of sailing vessels. Amazing. Work, different places or job stuff there. Makeup on what's on the docks. Honestly, like if you are even if you're not rolling tables, right? That's kind of I kind of see this as maybe even a small part of randomly rolling. Just if you have a city that's on the docks or have a city that's made up of a bunch of things, just reading this is an incredible resource for those things, right? If you're struggling to come up with ideas of encounters that you might find in there, struggling to make up or if the players ever ask, hey, I'm on the dock, like, what do I see around? Well, you scroll over here, you see a port, a waterfront, a fisher's wharf, a naval base. All these things are right here around you that you can access. And it makes sense that they're there. So criminal elements, authorities, adventure hooks, and then we have government districts. So I'm going to kind of cruise past here, but that's a cool map. So we have government districts that have all similar information, businesses, municipal buildings, municipal offices, all things to kind of populate your adventure. And if you do make an entire city campaign, you can put all of these things in there. Residential homes, participating in politics. Ooh, that one would be a fun one to read if if your players want to participate in the politics. We have court trials, awesome, in case one of your players gets in trouble. We have adventure hooks. Oh, I want to read one of these at least. The city's lord has undergone a noticeable change in behavior. Now sullen and introverted, he spends considerable time with this new personal advisor, a foreign man from a distant province whose pale skin is covered in strange tattoos. Okay. Not sure what the adventure hook is in that. High-profile targets who seek to attack or undermine the rule within city. So there is a person with tattoos. But he has a noticeable change in behavior, so maybe that's the tip. Maybe that's the tip. The next one, a thief arrested for breaking into a royal archives now faces a death sentence. However, a mysterious organization claims the man knows a vital secret that changed the world's fate. That's an adventure hook, so that's pretty cool. So we have a guard district, makes sense. Adventure hooks for that one. We have a market district. We have a religious district, awesome for religious place. And I think depending on the trade or the importance of the city that we rolled before, like if we rolled on like a religious aspect of the city, you might really want to flesh out this religious stuff and make it like a forefront of what this city is and what it kind of revolves around. Ooh, religious monuments, sure. We got a D8. An 8, an old iron bell cracks the flagstones with its bulk. An adjacent plaque offers insight into the bell's history. So we kind of talked about how this small village it was maybe an exodus of somewhere else. So maybe a city got destroyed. These were the survivors, and they brought the bell from the wreckage as a monument to their past and their ancestors. Kind of cool. Pious processes, religious activities. We have another 8. A line of acolytes in hair shirts shuffle about, chanting in unison as they whip each other with their scourges and swing censers that burn with foul incense. Oh no! Well, hey, we talked about superstition being a Cthulhu. Maybe we have a Cthulhu cult in this in this place, in this small village. I think that would be kind of cool. This turned out to be kind of a fun little village for our adventurers to kind of come across. And maybe these cult members don't like that we're taking this seaweed, and that it's supposed to be hard to get because we're supposed to not get it, and yet we're getting it anyways. And so maybe they don't like that, and we're thinking that we're displeasing the gods of the far realm. Pretty cool. So also have residential districts. Oh, a gargoyle. Oh, I do want to put a gargoyle somewhere in my adventure. Gargoyles are so cool. You guys remember that old TV show, Gargoyles? Freaking loved it. Bartered items. You get a few more other things you can barter with. Legal economies. Let's roll a d6, see what we get. 1. Black market. Community acquires its wealth by buying and selling stolen goods, shaving coins, or melting down silverware. Makes sense with we talked about before. Our person in the mayor is the head of the Thieves Guild here. So with them, they're kind of under the counter with a lot of stuff that maybe the region or the nation kind of frowns upon. That wherever they're under. We have sewer underbelly district. Awesome. Every good city has to have a good sewer district. Things found in the city or the sewer. I don't know if a small city or a small village would have like as a really sewer system, but we'll see what we roll. 18. A line of ants follows a winding path around several corners and through many pipes, leading to a bucket full of melon rinds. Okay. Maybe instead of a sewer, maybe we have some sort of like gutter system that removes waste and kind of shoots it over the cliff, and maybe a bunch of ants, large ants from the jungle have kind of made their home around there. Or just made a waste pile, kind of maybe down near the cliff, and a ant hill has kind of made it home. That'd be very interesting. Underworld meetups. All right, we'll roll on that one, see what we get. 2. Several thugs huddle at a corner booth, talking a hushed tones over a makeshift map devised from shot glasses, loose snacks, and game pieces. Occasionally one of them points at someone in the bar, and always the apparent leader seems to subtly shake their head, much to the group's growing frustrations. All right. City inhabitants. Okay. We're not even halfway through this, guys. we're not even halfway through it. City inhabitants, we got rulers. It's kind of giving you some NPCs. That's awesome. City is officials. We have guild members, how to craft guilds, and maybe some things that they focus on. All right, Painters Guild, Shipwright Guild, Woodcarver Guild, things like that. We have joining a craft guild, so that's awesome, with guild portfolios on a roll table, benefits that you might get from the guild. So these are like patrons that I think Xanathar's Guide to Everything, I think is in that book that kind of covers it. So this is another fleshed out version of that, if you don't want to get that book. And then, let's see, we have illicit guilds. Just kind of scrolling this as fast as I can so you guys can get the gist of what we have here. Other guilds, organizations. We have city watches, cults, and secret societies. Awesome. So if we have that Cthulhu cult, then we can read here about that stuff. Issel reads could be a fun waste disposal unit, so long as it's organic waste. Yeah. No, absolutely. It'd be weird if there was non-organic waste. I don't know if they would have plastics in a medieval village. Ooh, some sacrificial stuff. Okay, so henchmen to hirelings. Let's see where we're at. I'm gonna be more. I'm gonna be a little bit more strategic about this. Okay, so we made it all the way to like the city inhabitants, right? Where we had a bunch of different guilds. Henchmen to hirelings, monstrous citizens. What is a monster? Ooh, so we have NPCs and monsters. Oh, okay. So we have monsters. Maybe we want to look at city campaign. So again, this is kind of the campaign section that you can kind of look over. Unfortunately, we're kind of out of time. But city heroes, we have a bunch of different backgrounds, relationships, favors, powerful titles about owning property. So if your adventurers want to own property, that's in here too. We covered kind of what the colleges or the subclasses were that you can kind of look over. But let's do monsters. Let's jump to monsters. We have like things like an alley sprite, cute. We have a bookworm. That does not look like a bookworm. Fungalvore, a Knackerlack, a lab spawn golem. We have a legion pigeon. How big is that? Oh, it's small, but still, it's undead. Wow, that's cool. A lock mimic. Of course, we got to have mimics in the town. Oh yeah. We have a pet mimic, red urchin. Ooh. Oh, that thing looks dope. Sewer blobs, of course. Sewer gin. Now that's cool. Like a sewer gin, like a water genasi, but it coming from like the sewers. That's cool. That's cool. Undead factotum. Looks like a vampire of sorts. Yeah, it has regeneration. No. Oh, yeah, and a bite. So that is a vampire right there. That is a vampire. And then city campaigns. It goes into a lot of different stuff. Let's look. While I have you, let's look at one of these subclasses. Just while I have you. What did I land on? Skirmish surgeon. Sure. Let's do that. This is why we need an urban ranger subclass. Oh, actually, yeah. Is there a ranger that we can look at? Yeah, there we go. So this isn't an urban ranger subclass. It looks like an urban ranger class features, optional class features. So you just replace these features with the other ones. So it replaces the natural explorer feature. By first level, your time living in cities has made you particularly adept at navigating and surviving within them. You understand the importance of diplomacy, and with that, when that fails, combat that isn't lethal. You gain proficiency in the deception, intimidation, and persuasion skill, and your proficiency bonus is doubled for that skill when interacting socially with humanoids. In addition, you have advantage on strength athletics checks made to climb, and if you are holding a length of rope at least 10 feet long, you can attack with it. Nice, using the statistics of a net with a maximum range equal to half the full length of rope. Hey, there you go. So you can have a ranger a cattle roper as well with that. When you reach 6th level in this class, you gain a climbing speed equal to your walking speed, and you have advantage on initiative rolls while in an urban environment, or when at least one of your opponents is humanoid. That's cool. Additional ranger spells. You have Charm Person, Comprehend Languages, Disguise Self, City Sight is a spell in the book, looks like. Knock, Clairvoyance, Tongues, Compulsion, Faithful Hound, Awesome, Legend Lore, and Pass Wall. All great spells. Then you get Pulse of the City. Replaces the primeval awareness. You can tap into the collective consciousness of the city to sense the general mood of its citizens. As an action while in a settlement, you can sense the surface emotions of beasts and humanoids within 1,000 feet of you for 1 minute. You can't pinpoint each source of emotion, but you can sense the direction of gatherings of a particular strong emotion, such as happiness, in the direction of a local theater house. Ooh, that's kind of a cool mechanic. Or panic in the direction of the district where a monster is attacking. That's really useful. If the gathering is moving, you know the direction of its movement. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. You regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. When you reach 5th level in this class, you can cast the Locate Object spell without expending a spell slot. Once you cast a spell in this way, you can't do so again until a long rest. When you reach 13th level, you can cast Locate Creature without a spell slot in the same way. City Stride replaces the Land Stride feature. Starting at 8th level, moving through non-magical difficult terrain costs you no extra movement. You can also pass through terrain made of non-magical crafted objects and openings without being slowed by them, without taking damage from them if they had spikes or similar hazard and without squeezing, provided the opening is large enough for a creature one size smaller than you. For example, you can pass through an alley filled with crates and barrels without being slowed. Awesome. And if you are a medium or smaller creature, you can pass through a small shop window lined with broken glass without taking damage or squeezing. In addition, you have an advantage on saving throws against the effects of magical and non-magical traps. Yeah. So, yeah, lots of good stuff, guys. So obviously we didn't get to everything. This is a large book, so I didn't think we were, but I honestly felt that we were going to get a little further than that. But that's okay. I appreciate you guys being with me. So anyways, if you want it, check it out. Campaign Builder, Cities in Town, full 250, link in the description. Thankful for Kobold Press allowing me guys to have an early review of it, but it is now out now that you can get it. If it's too much for you, need something a little simpler, you can check it out. My city builder or town builder on my website. I think it's it's my first issue, which also includes a Oath of Adventurer Paladin. So speaking of beginning of Adventurer, you have a Paladin that's solely focused on the Oath of the Adventurer. Their oath is that they want to adventure. If nothing will give you more of an introduction into an adventure by wanting to be an adventurer so bad that you made an oath to do it. So, anyways, cool stuff. Oh, thanks, guys. Thank you guys so much for being here. I guess that's it. I didn't see a lot of people who had questions or wanting me to go back and look at things, so I'm going to say that we did good. And we have a small village with a couple of smaller hooks that you can use in your campaign if you liked it, or you can kind of go through and build out your own. So in the meantime, go out there and spread the good word of TTRPGs and make the world a better place, both on